Hey guys, welcome to Talking All Express episode 7, In Your House 2, aka In Your House the Lumberjacks. I'm Lewis, I'm joined by Thomas, Oliver and Cammy. Few facts about In Your House the Lumberjacks before we begin. Obviously it was the second edition of the In Your House pay-per-view produced by the World Wrestling Federation at the time. It was preceded by In Your House Premier and it would be followed by In Your House triple headers. It occurred on July 23rd, 1995 at the Municipal Auditorium in Nashville, Tennessee, drawing an audience of 6,482 people. It was made up of 6 matches, giving it a 1 hour and 55 minute runtime. On commentary you've got Jerry Lawler and Vince McMahon. Match wise you've got the 1-2-3 Kid versus the Roadie, Men on a Mission versus Razor Ramon and Savio Vega, Henry O'Godwin versus Bam Bam Bigelow, Jeff Jarrett versus Shawn Michaels, Owen Hart and Yokozuna versus the Allied Powers, and in the main event Psycho Sid versus Diesel, round 2. Right, first impressions of this pay-per-view, guys.
It felt like it started really well for me and then started to go downhill quite quickly. That intro video package is just sublime. It is the best minute of World Wrestling Federation entertainment program I've ever seen in my life. It felt like from the opening match to the main event, it feels like the quality is the wrong way round.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it slid downhill for me quite quickly.
Yeah, it feels like a real solid step down after In Your House 1. That's only kind of.
Because when we did In Your House 1, I said, look, I don't want to sound like your dad, but it was a wrestling show.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what this was, but this wasn't a wrestling show, man.
It was a near 2-hour music video.
Yeah.
It was a 3-hour pay-per-view condensed into 2 hours.
And even that was half an hour too long.
But
yeah, compared to, you kind of mentioned the first one. I hadn't seen the first one in years. And when I watched it, I was blown away by how much I actually just enjoyed the pure entertainment of it. And I expected more of the same here, and did not get that at all.
I feel like, with the Jeff Jarrett stuff, they were really just kind of leaning on the whole Nashville thing, but maybe just a little bit too much, to the point in which they even killed, even up to the point where the live performance happens. It just, you can, at first I thought this is actually all right television. I was enjoying the corniness of it, and then it started to go on too long, and then I started to look at the audience, and I thought, oh dear God. Who's got the worst of this here? Is it us or them? And then it cuts to the crowd and they try their best to get it over, and it's just embarrassing. But I kind of enjoyed this. I'm just looking at the dark matches that happened on that night as well. It seemed like you definitely would have got your money's worth, and I feel like for it being what would have been a B pay-per-view then at a bit of a cheaper rate, I still wouldn't have felt ripped off by it. But albeit there's a bit of a dip in quality from the first one, a bit more than I would have thought of, seeing as the concept for the night still relatively new.
Mm-hmm. The opening package, the country music, the weird frame rate editing they do, the fact that Jeff Jarrett gets a shout out in the opening song. I mean, this feels indicative of everything that was kind of bad about 1995 WWF.
And there's a bit specifically we'll touch on coming up.
Oh yeah.
It does underline what was wrong in 95, but we'll get to that. 2 little pointers just before I get on the 1-2-3 Kid versus the Roadie.
Jerry Lawler's mullet was one of them, and the other one was. Despite the fact that this was a record fiscal low for the WWF at the time, Vince McMahon seems weirdly over happy. And the opening thing, it's like, welcome everybody to Nashville, Tennessee, and he's really hammering home look we go. He's fawning over himself, and for a really quite an empty crowd to tell you.
I thought this too, and my reasoning is that he's in denial.
Yeah, it was really bizarre because Vince just seemed so happy to be there. And to be fair, the crowd were quite hot as well, but it wasn't infectious. It didn't transfer through the screen.
Yeah, go on, mate.
Yeah, I was just going to say that, Vince is one of these guys that has very quietly sort of denied the fact that he was born in Carolina in a trailer park, and all the things that we've kind of read, and Titan Sinking and Titan Shard, the James Dixon books, that he's always sort of hated that southern sort of carny shyster implications. But yeah, he's in Tennessee here. Like, he should be absolutely miserable, and he seems to be having the time of his life.
It was, for me, I think it was just the mixing of the pay-per-view, but I couldn't hear the crowd at all. I had to read their body language, and I refused to do that.
It's always I always feel a bit skeptical watching things on the network because I'm always trying to listen for a bit of audio sweetening kind of thing, and I'm not sure how much of that I picked up in this. But there was a few times they were quite hot, like for the 1-2-3 Kid and Michaels and stuff. But those pops almost kind of emphasised how much silence was going on in between those moments, kind of thing. And it's a good thing that McMahon was hot because I really wasn't feeling Jerry Lawler that night. He added a whole lot of nothing to the whole pay-per-view, in my opinion. Just loads of jokes that fell flat on his face, and for some reason McMahon was very happy to point them out as well, which made for an awkward, funny situation.
Yeah, that's a fair point, especially with the kind of last couple of pay-per-views, like Jerry Lawler, the Brian Christopher thing. Jerry Lawler, his 20-year-old supermodel mum. Things like that were funny, but yeah, there was a bit off here.
Right, getting into the 1-2-3 Kid versus the Roadie. The first thing I picked up on here is this is the first time we've seen the 1-2-3 Kid, Sean Waltman, since we started doing this. First thing I picked up, he looks like if he got shrunk in the wash. I can't believe I've never made that link before, but he does look like mini Brett.
It's one of those as well. He's dressed like how an American teen drama thinks a professional wrestler looks as well.
He doesn't look cynical enough to be Brett. He looks like these eyes are still filled with optimism. The world's yet to crush him at this point.
And it's interesting. I was just going to mention him quickly. His name, I never understood who thought it. Well, we do know Vince McMahon, the 1-2-3 Kid. That could apply to any wrestler. That is the point of wrestling. So hit your opponent or pin them. Usually pin them.
And at the same time as well, he lost.
Yeah.
It should be almost 1-2-3 Kid. Be sometimes 1-2-3 Kid.
He really
almost got him
from a Goldberg style undefeated streak. The 1-2-3 Kid. I think I really would have sold him. The little kid that could.
Louis, still your bit here. You're head of booking in WWE. How do you book the mini Brett angle with the 1-2-3 Kid?
I'd have him as like a crazed Brett fan. Keeps jumping the barrier and try to hug him. And all he wants is the Brett glasses.
Well, yeah,
Brett keeps overlooking him, so he eventually turns heel and attacks Brett.
Yeah, you could have done the real single white female act where he comes to the ring dressed like Brett, and he comes to the ring stealing his belts, and he comes to the ring with Owen, and then eventually it's just, don't talk to me or my son ever again.
Yeah, he's got like a pleather jacket.
Having said that, I actually forgot just how solid a worker Sean Waltman, the 1-2-3 Kid, was in this match. What did you guys make of Sean Waltman, since we haven't covered him before?
I was really impressed with him in this match. That's why I said this show started off really good for me, because I was watching, for argument's sake, Road Dogg versus X-Pac.
Two very different matches.
two very different men. But watching this, I was excited. To sound like your dad, it was a wrestling show. It was a wrestling match. It was a real exciting wrestling match to open the show. And yeah, I was really impressed with Sean Waltman in this match.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's very underrated as the 1-2-3 Kid, X-Pac, whatever you want to call him. And you obviously later on you get the whole X-Pac heat kind of tropes that go about, and you don't even know how accurate that even was. But here, he's kind of fresh face in the company, got a decent gimmick, a lot of people behind him. And yeah, he was a good worker. A problem with this match though was, it's not that I don't like the Road Dogg or the Roadie. He just, at this stage of his career, never felt like a proper wrestler. He was still like a manager. He was like a valet. And to see him beat the 1-2-3 Kid, I'm like, really? This is a guy that was in a handicap match last month, well, the last pay-per-view, and it didn't seem that out of place that him and Jeff Jarrett fought Razor-Ramon 1-on-2, because he didn't seem like a proper wrestler, and I felt that way with him here.
I mean, even down to his ring attire, like I just couldn't spot a difference between Road Dogg that we get later on and Road Dogg that we have then. Personally, I don't feel like I saw a lot of improvement over his career to have even made that to have that opinion of him. But as for Waltman, I don't even compare. It's like two different people. Kind of thing. I don't know if there was an injury in the middle of it. Maybe you guys might know, kind of thing, because that's what it feels like. Because it just feels like two completely different performances between the 1-2-3 kid and X-Pac. To me, anyway, it justifies the go away heat. If you know what he's capable of and what he ended up delivering towards the end of sort of the Attitude Era sort of thing, it's crazy.
I know he had a lot of problems as time went on.
Yeah.
Mm.
So I must have clouded his performances.
There was a pile driver that the roadie went and did during this, and it was really bizarre because it looked really bad, but at the same time, the way he did it, it did it in a way that protected Waltman, but looked really clumsy at the same time. It was a really strange contrast where it wasn't until I saw the replay I went, I can see what he's done. He's tried to minimise the fall as much as possible, but you first see it looks like a mistake, and it looks like he's really done some damage to him.
Yeah, on the replay, it looks clean and clumsy.
Is this the one off the top rope?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's the second rope.
Yeah.
Second rope, was it?
Yeah, second rope. But I never thought I'd be watching a 1995 show and just like clench my teeth and go, oh my god, like that looked absolutely horrendous. One of the other things I wrote down here was it was a shame that Waltman never stuck around in the WWF before going to WCW, because I think, knowing that we'd get Taka Michinoku and Aguila and Brian Christopher and that down the road, it really feels like they actually could have built the light heavyweight division around Sean Waltman.
Yeah,
definitely, yeah.
Yeah, it was actually interesting watching this match. And watching the work of the 1-2-3 kid in the context of DX and the later 90s pay-per-views. And as you said, yeah, I think you really could have added something to actually make the light heavyweight division worthwhile.
Mm-hmm. We get the run-in by Jeff Jarrett towards. I feel like we're going to end up talking about Jeff a lot during this thing, because it seems like a pay-per-view that's based entirely around Jeff.
Can't wait.
That sounds like for a mid-carder, he seems to be just about in everything.
He wasn't main eventing either.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't even in one of the Lumberjacks for the match. He looks like every bad 80s gimmick rolled into one. Like, even now his shtick here feels like 5 years too late.
That's why he's the best.
He's got a very mid-south wrestling feel to him. And it's funny because we went and just reviewed DX, In Your House DX last week, and this is more of a Jeff Jarrett show than that was a DX show.
Yeah.
Roddy gets the win. I'm going to be honest, I really loved this match, to be honest. I'm going to go maybe 3.5, 4 out of 5. I really liked it a lot. I think in terms of unseating the crowd to begin with, I think this did it, absolutely.
I'm going to be an easily pleased Rube. Yeah, 4 out of 5.
I'll go 3.5.
I was a 3 just off the back of how well the 1-2-3 kids made how good he made the roadie look with his bumping and stuff. I thought that the effort totally deserved that. Totally a 3.5 after the roadie went and checked the microphone after the match. I thought that was 10 out of 10. That was great.
See, I do think it could have been better, but I think that dangerous finish really hurt the credibility of the match towards the end. I think that definitely maybe knocked it down a bit. Anyway, onto the Diesel versus Sid spot. Diesel versus Sid is now both the main event of In Your House 1 and 2. Why wasn't this the main event of SummerSlam 95? This feels like it could have done numbers, Diesel versus Sid. Again, we kind of touched on this when we did In Your House 1, but it's very hard to have that kind of hero-villain dynamic with a smaller villain. It feels like Sid could have been like the golden goose to Diesel and really helped him draw some money and have, because again, those matches weren't bad. But yeah, I think Diesel versus Sid shouldn't have been the In Your House 2 main event. I think they should have saved it till SummerSlam 95.
I completely agree. Yeah, again, like we said with in your house one, they were the perfect foil for each other because it was two titans going against each other. It wasn't a David and Goliath narrative. It was Goliath versus Goliath 2.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it does feel a bit weird that this was main event in what's essentially a pay-per-view house show when at SummerSlam 1995 you had Diesel against Mabel. It's not the right way round.
No, but they were so big in Mabel during this year. You can just see he's everywhere, and whenever McMahon talks about him on commentary and stuff, they just had a real hard on for him, which I just don't see.
I think it's because we're looking back on Mabel and we know him as Viscera and Big Daddy V, and all the time he was Viscera and Big Daddy V, you just looked at him like, what purpose do you serve? I know it's wrestling, I know it's ridiculous gimmicks and blokes in tights rolling about with each other, but you add literally fuck all to this conversation. You're a big guy, but you don't fight. Who the fuck are you, man?
Yeah, the bit in the locker room when Diesel and Sean are holding up the Diesel versus Sid In Your House t-shirts. Given how hard I've looked for In Your House t-shirts as of late, this feels like a retroactive slap in the face to me personally, given how fucking desperate I've been for one of those shirts.
It hurt a lot when it came up and said, phone line no longer active. I was dialing up, man.
Yeah. I wonder if they've still got like a big storage thing of those things in like Arkansas or somewhere, because we know 1995 was a bad year, so maybe not all those t-shirts are gone.
God, they couldn't have sold any.
You never see pay-per-views and see people sitting with In Your House 2 t-shirts on, you know, it's...
Yeah, they weren't exactly twinned with the Austin 316 shirts, were they?
I feel like we'll see someone once if it all comes back, someone just sitting very smug in the front row of the crowd, just like, yeah.
Well, that's going to be next year's Mania. I'm going to make some bootlegging Yabs 2 t-shirts.
Well, that's the end game, isn't it? Like when the crowds are allowed back in the arenas, we can do a Talk and Roll Express shirt, and then somebody can like hold up in front of the camera as they're doing the big glide over the audience. That's the end game, fellas. Right, Men on a Mission versus Razor Ramon and Savio Vega. If the Mabel character had maybe underwent a bit of a redesign, or maybe gritted them up a bit, could you guys have conceivably saw him holding that world title, or do you think it was too late?
God, no.
I wouldn't have been surprised to see Mabel with a title in '95, but I'm so glad it didn't. King of the Ring was enough. And sorry,
it's cool. Keep going.
No, that was me. I was just basically
the thing I'm struggling with a wee bit is we've already been through. When was the Yokozuna experiment? When was that?
93.
So what were they thinking with taking someone Mabel's size and trying to push him? I mean, this was basically a Sir Mo and Savio Vega match.
Yeah.
And the payoff was, I mean, I understand what they were doing. It's a match you've seen a million times. You know, you keep Ramon out, and then once everyone's choking for him, you bring him out, huge pop, whatever. But Mabel could barely work the match. You know, like even later on when we see him as one of the Lumberjacks, like he's still sucking in air then, kind of thing. Like it just doesn't seem doable at all.
Mm-hmm.
I think if you'd have put the belt on him, the Monday Night Wars, obviously they didn't start then, but it would have gone in a completely different direction because he's not got the clout to hold the belt. He's, like I said, I look back at him retrospectively, knowing who Viscera is and knowing who Big Daddy V is. But again, he's not a big giant. He's not a limber cruiserweight. He's not a Shawn Michaels type. I'm the best in the world. Why put the belt on him? It would have properly spun the WWF.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think if you did give him the belt in '95, the Monday Night Wars would have started and ended a lot sooner.
Yeah.
There'd be footage of Eric Bischoff turning up on Monday Night Raw and buying the company.
Yeah, here's my hot take. I don't mind Mabel. I mean, when he has about a minute of go time, and then the match really needs to grind to a halt before, obviously, he can get his win back. But I think the reputation he had for injuring guys. I mean, I think he went through about 7 or 8 guys in the run up to that King of the Ring thing. So his career was pretty much over, even before and after King of the Ring. But yeah, I think it's a shame what happens. You never want to see guys fail in the business, but I think the Mabel experiment was just not a good idea.
See, I didn't mind him as much when he was a face before the heel turn. It was fun. They kind of come out with the rap gimmick and that. And there was a third member whose name escapes me. It was more a kind of manager, MC, the company room. And they were quite entertaining, especially for that kind of age group I was in when this was happening. And then they had the heel turn. It just never, as you were saying, Ollie, he's big. That was his gimmick, especially as a heel. He wasn't even like a monster heel. There was nothing really intimidating about him, apart from the fact he was quite big.
Yeah, there's no selling points.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't get that they couldn't put the belt on Yokozuna again because they thought it was too heavy. But I just want to point out now, Mabel was so fat that he crushed the Undertaker's eye socket doing a leg drop.
Yeah, he was.
There's nothing was there.
What amazes me is that the then WWE bought him back for another 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Razor comes to the ring with the waist bandage, and then he immediately rips it off as soon as the match begins. That feels like really wasted storytelling. That really feels like they could have got some mileage out of that had he ripped it off 3/4 of the way into the match and then just powered up. But yeah, that's another thrown away plot point.
Yeah.
Yes, sorry, I was going to say, just it was the plot for Bret Hart's injury in the first In Your House and did it badly.
The one thing we can't accuse the guys of in 1995 is being colourless. Like, they all have, outspoken big costumes and that. But, I mean, Savio Vega, man, what the fuck? I mean, that's just there's no design, there's no oomph, there's no panache, there's really nothing to Savio's look. Like, I get that he was a workhorse and that was more or less what he was there to be, but they maybe could have given him a mask or something.
He's dressed like your mate's dad, who he thinks he's really funny, but he's actually a massive asshole. That's what I think of when I look at Savio Vega in this match. He's got a big booming laugh, and you just have to awkwardly smile at him. I can't speak for Savio Vega himself, but that's the vibe he's giving me.
I was about to criticise him by saying, try and describe Savio Vega, but you've just hit the nail right on the head right there. I'm sure that's how the preliminary conversations went down in creative.
Savio, you are so bad.
And it's a shame as well because, as you mentioned, he's a really good worker. And apparently he was quite a legit badass in real life. He was quite a tough guy. Tap into that. Present that aspect. Maybe just came in at the wrong time. He came in the cartoon era where a character like his would be more suited for the Attitude Era.
He'd have been a good hard man enforcer.
Yeah. Which I suppose to try to do with the Nation.
Getting on Razor Ramon, I think this is actually Razor Ramon's best look with the black and the gold trunks and that. I think that's just it was such an underrated fit. And again, as a worker, he was one of the best as well. Who do you think had the better worked punches, Scott Hall or The Rock? The difficult one.
I'm going to go with Scott Hall because Rock does really good work punches, but at the same time, it's very cartoony. I think if you started a fight with somebody and you sort of went in that squat position and started slinging those Rock style punches, it wouldn't work. If you started scrapping Rock, you might get a result. Don't get me wrong, I'd love to be knocked down, stand up and start punching someone like The Rock.
Spit in your hand, grab it, punch.
I'd love then the crowd to form and I bounce off both sides of the crowd and hit the elbow on them.
Well, hopefully The Rock can hit Donald with those worked punches when he gets into the White House in 2028 or whatever.
That'll be the day.
Yeah, Mabel gets the win. This is a real 2 out of 5 for me. There's nothing wrong technically with the match. The guys have good enough chemistry, but it never clicked that way. Yeah, it's a real throwaway match.
People who are listening on Spotify, I'm just throwing my hands up. It's just
He's doing the airplane motioning gesture. Come forward. Yeah, right. So after this, we get the Doc Hendricks interview. Poor Bam Bam. I mean, he's just such a solid worker. Excellent guy, presentation and all that. He's saddled with Man Mountain Rock, the Smoking Guns, and Adam Bomb. Like he never had a chance when he came back today.
So this is the part I was talking about at the beginning of the podcast when I was saying there's a bit here that underlines 1995. They're discussing who is the paid, who's been paid off by the Million Dollar Man. And Man Mountain's, they're like, well, I need a new guitar. It's like, oh, is he been funding your new world tour? I'm like, he's a wrestler. Why? And now I need to believe that Vince is giving him time off to go and do a world tour. Now, we could all argue that's happened with Jericho and Fozzy in real life now, but not fucking Man Mountain in 1995. I don't remember the Man Mountain world tour.
Well, my first exposure to Man Mountain Rock was in the Brett vs. Shawn DVD. There's a clip of him like playing the guitar in the middle of the ring with the voiceover. WWF struggled financially in the 90s. It's like, fucking bury the guy.
Is there not a pay-per-view as well where it plays the national anthem on the guitar?
Oh, God.
See, I'm getting mixed up with him now and Van Hammer.
If it didn't happen, it would have been a missed opportunity.
Was
I'm going to try. I need to
Gene
find
Simmons guy WCW? Or was he WWF?
Demon.
No.
WC.
That
Originally, I'm pretty sure that was Crush that played him the first time. Then they changed the wrestler, and nobody noticed.
Good lord.
At least it wasn't called Crush again.
Crush noticed.
That was supposed to be a whole
Crush.
faction. There was supposed to be a Kiss faction of wrestlers, all based off different members of the band. But the Demon bombed so badly, they just scrapped it.
We continue to go from strength to strength. After this, we get the Jeff Jarrett sing-along.
Yes.
First thing I picked up on here is Jeff never had a decent piece of entrance music in his fucking life, did he?
oh no.
Excuse me. Excuse me.
I went back and listened to that 1997, 1998 NWE theme. It's garbage. Unmitigated garbage. It's just all garbage.
Can
I
just
love his
say, though,
entrance music here.
I do like this song. I think it's a really good song.
Was slapping my knees. Great.
Yeah, I was going to say, what did Jeff have to do in a prior life to get tortured like this by WWF Creative? Like, this wasn't when he first abandoned them and ran away to WCW. Like, he was a relatively WWF guy at this time, and like he just gets absolutely dragged through the mud by Vince and his boys.
This is an awesome storyline. They've gave him a music career. And don't get me wrong, he's not doing a world tour like Man Mountain, but he is getting an opportunity to sing. Although there's a bit of this that really annoyed me. Todd Pettingill, a bit of prick during this. He's talking to the band, he's talking to the backing singers. And he goes, how he's getting on. The woman starts speaking, he just cuts her off and walks away. Then sits with the drummer for about 5 minutes, getting them to hit the drums. They're like, just please cut. And Vince is trying to cut away, and Todd keeps speaking. I'm like, fire him now. Just fire him.
Just on it.
They actually cut the segment and he's still turning round to the drummer with his next command.
I don't know how much cocaine you can buy in Nashville, but clearly there's a lot going on.
Well, I mean, you want to talk about how bad 1995 era WWF was. They have a sing-along heel.
Yeah.
But the long-term storytelling aspect of this angle does pay off quite well.
I mean, 2 years from now, we have a sex slave stipulation with Brian Pillman and Goldberg.
You know, you can say what you want about this segment, Jeff Jarrett or whatever, but I would give teeth to have a sing-along heel right now. Like, it would turn everything around. What? Yeah, so we do.
The thing is, Elias is kind of one of those guys. I mean, everybody always says that people in NXT, their character got ruined when they get called up. Elias was a guy whose gimmick did not work in NXT, but really took off in the main roster. I mean, his face works okay, but it's a heel when it comes down, because the guy can genuinely play the guitar. He's a genuinely good musician. And I think that's what makes him even harder, easier to hate, because he is good.
Did Jeff Jarrett not come back and bury him? Now that my memory serves me right, Jeff Jarrett came back at the Royal Rumble, and am I making this up?
Sounds familiar.
I'm pretty certain.
Plausible.
Yeah, it comes full circle. 10 out of 10.
It's one of those. Even if it didn't happen, it probably did.
Yeah.
But we're complaining about long-term booking. This was like 20 years in the making.
Yeah, they're like, Jeff, here's the thing. We know we've saddled you with this really bizarre gimmick and the singing. It's not going to be you singing, it's going to be the road dog. But see, in 15 years' time, it's really going to pay off. Have faith. You may need to go away for a while, join WCW, start your own company, bro. See if you come back and they're all rumbling.
You complained about that entrance music, but when it dropped at the Royal Rumble, there were sparks. Okay, there were sparks.
Are you trying to imply that total non-stop action wrestling was a work by WWE Creative?
Weirder things have happened, Joe. It's wrestling.
It feels like, because we watched SummerSlam 98 and we've seen like Mania 14 and all that, it feels like whenever there's a live music performance, like Jim Johnston gets the call to go up there and give an uncredited cameo. You know, Johnston, get up there and get over.
Get the crowd going.
I like this. I'm a cameo. I like this segment.
Yeah.
I thought it was a good. It went on too long, but it's a good song.
Well, are we talking about the main performance, or are we still talking about before when they were kind of prepping it? Because the main performance did go on too long. I was enjoying it and my smile just slowly disappeared. And then the thing I struggle to figure out, right, is when you have a heel music segment, they're supposed to be terrible. And it's supposed to be go away heat, right? But the commentator, like Vince and that, they're putting him over, and I couldn't figure it out. Why is this going on so long? Why are they putting it over? Until Vince McMahon said the cassette will be available Monday, and I thought it all clicks. All of it clicks. Like, I could not figure it out until then. And I thought, oh, okay, we're doing that now.
It's still not as bad as when fucking, not Rage Against the Machine, but Rage Against the Machine did DX's theme.
Oh, yeah.
That was horrible.
Yeah, Chris Warren.
I'm sorry, I just realised there's a cassette tape out there with this on it. I'm trying to find one.
Look, if you can get the cassette tape, you can surely get the fucking t-shirts.
Right, so right after this, we get the SummerSlam 95 spot where Diesel hijacks a woman in a Humvee, and then makes off. It pans back to the audience. The biggest laugh I got out of watching this was you get the SummerSlam 95 spot and then it cuts right back to the audience, and then there's like a barrage of empty maroon coloured seats. Like, I don't know if Jeff Jarrett actively drove them away or the audience was just that empty to begin with.
I don't know. I think the audience were moving around quite a lot as well, because at the end of the Allied Powers match, I saw a load of people running across, and I don't know if they were getting to the let's call it the entrance, not the entrance ramp. It's a piece of concrete with two barriers, but it's the entrance ramp. Yeah. So, but was it that empty that it afforded you the opportunity to just fucking move about?
The social distancing seats.
Yeah.
I was looking at, there was roughly just over 6,000 people in attendance, and the capacity is 9,000, but that's 9,000 for, it says surround, so I'm assuming that's like the seats kind of thing. So to say it could be like 10,000 they should have got, or like just over that kind of thing, if you're including the floor space. It's crazy.
Moving on to Henry O'Godwin versus Bam Bam Bigelow. Bam Bam feels like a guy that could have been world champion had the stars just been aligned. Let's play the creative question. What would you guys have done with Bam Bam at this point? Keep in mind, technically he did main event Mania of that year, albeit it was with a football player. But
I always like Bam Bam. I quite liked his face run as well, just because I liked him so much. But there's a guy who had monster heel written all over him, and he could work. And his WCW run was pretty poor, but ECW really knew how to use him. And yeah, missed opportunity with old Bam Bam, I think.
Yeah, he feels like the sort of guy you could have put the belt on easily. Maybe not forever, but definitely have him as a big bastard for someone like Brett or Sean to come along and just do the business. Yeah, he was great in ECW, but maybe that's the problem.
I think I actually, believe it or not, would have preferred them to be the heel that Diesel needed. My justification for this being that as good as Sid looks and the gimmick and whatever, they're just too. I just personally feel they're too big. There's not that I'm struggling to imagine how they could have pulled off a match to have justified throwing them together. Whereas I understand Bam Bam's big, but he's shown himself to be quick, and I just feel like it would have maybe have made a bit more of an interesting program. But that's probably just because I'm judging it on what we did get. There's still lost potential there for Sid as well.
I was about to say Bam Bam Bigelow's quite squat as well, but he's the same height as me. I'm just thinking of him versus Kevin Nash, who is like monstrously tall. But yeah, I agree with you. I agree he would have been a better foil for Diesel.
I feel like it's believable that he could have physically, literally, like ran at him and knocked him off his feet. And but at that point, anything. Suspension of disbelief could have you could have filled in the gaps anywhere, I think.
Mm-hmm. Well, what I was going to say is we're doing In Your House 2 now. We've just done In Your House 19, and the Godwins seem to be a permanent fixture of every In Your House, and I'm already running out of things to say about them. I feel like the most noteworthy thing about them was that they dumped a bucket of piss on Sonny and wore a bigoted t-shirt in their later years. But again, they were there for 3 years. And they were not the greatest of workers, let's be honest here. They were not that good.
I liked the slot bucket. I feel like they could have done more with the slot bucket.
They pull off the show don't tell thing here. They actually peek inside the slot bucket. It's salad.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what was that about?
Can understand that. I was never a fan of the Godwins. When I first seen them, it was their faces. Then their neck was broken, so it comes back as heels. Then they had that Southern Justice thing with Jeff Jarrett again, and I forgot that Phineas Godwin or Henry Godwin, whoever one it is, came in as a heel originally, and just kind of I think I blacked it during this match.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what happened here. I remember some guy in dungarees coming out. I remember looking inside the slot bucket, and then the bell rang.
Mm-hmm. Well, the only thing I could sort of concentrate on during this match was how cool it would have been to see Bam Bam in the Attitude Era. I feel like I had with the fire outfit and that he would have slotted. What I really would have liked to see him in was Undertaker's Ministry around about 98, 99. I feel like he could have slotted in there very perfectly because he had that kind of goth thing with the head tattoos and that.
I think with the right partner as well, he could have, maybe as a sideshow, but he could have slotted in with like the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, the Hardy Boys. Yeah, because that's what maybe he wasn't at the right time for 1995 WWF because it was the cartoony Superstars era, and that's what he was good in WWE because he was a big bruiser. So I think maybe if he'd come in the late 90s and had him putting like the Dudley Boys through a table.
I think actually Bam Bam originally came in the late 80s, if I recall. I'm pretty sure he was
there for a long time.
He was at WrestleMania 4. And it didn't seem as out of place there as it does here. He's gimmick interesting enough, but hey, if he was still in the Attitude Era, they'd probably put him in the DOA.
Yeah, true.
Or the oddities. Needs wear the South Park t-shirt and that. Bam Bam gets the win here. I guess another 2 out of 5. I feel like, and again, this isn't Bam Bam's fault. Bam Bam he feels like the kind of guy that could have had a 4-star or even a 5-star match with her. I just think Henry O'Godwin, I just think there's certain guys that you can only get to a point, and Henry, the Hog, just feels like one of those guys.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Hog
and Pig.
Hog and Pig, yeah.
Fucking cops over at Connecticut, the brain power over there. That's a real trust fund.
I'm going to be real straight here. I've just realised, hog.
Yeah. Oh my God, is that you just tippled?
Yeah, that's me. I'm just over the line. It's not the worst thing I've done this week. I had a pub quiz on Friday, and it was like guess the movie from the description. It was like based on a novel, and it was like won 5 Oscars starring Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster, and I originally wrote Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
But it's been a real week of discovery for me.
It was a real usual suspects moment when the cop drops the coffee mug and he thinks that this guy's a Susie is.
Rebecca Scratch freeze frame.
Right, immediately after this we get the HBK interview. I'll say this for Sean, he's clearly not on muscle relaxants here. He's clearly on the Colombian no sugar because he's going at 100 miles a minute. I actually forgot, that sounds ridiculous, but I actually forgot just how good Sean a talker is when he wants to be. How would you guys rate him on a scale of 1 to 10?
On the mic?
Yeah, on the mic.
10.
10?
Yeah, he's a great talker. I think he's excellent. Doesn't matter what he's saying, what he's trying to sell, where he wants to. He just draws you in.
I think it's his range as well. So the big bad, I'm the best in the world, Shawn Michaels was class on the mic, but I also fondly remember the mid 2000s DX reboot Shawn Michaels, and he was hilarious.
Yeah,
he was really funny.
And especially the DX during that kind of era, they had to really watch what they were saying because it was the PG stuff, and I think they were funnier during then than they were.
Yeah,
they were a lot more creative.
It wasn't overtly sexual. It was a lot of winking to it as well, like the stuff with the barbecues and the hot dogs, and it was funnier because it wasn't in your face. As stupid as it sounds.
I feel like when you watch this entire show, to me, it's clear that Sean is the most magnetic performer on it. To me, anyway. But like, if I start putting my sort of wrestling cap on and really look at it, I think the thing that frustrates me about him, and I think it's also the type of thing that made maybe Vince start looking at anti-hero face, but they're actually bad, is that he can't do face. Like, I don't feel like he's even trying, sort of thing. There's things he's doing throughout this, and at any point I can just, later on in his career, I feel like he can play a baby face really well. He's quite a sympathetic person, but he's just too up his own backside at this point to actually care. He just does Shawn Michaels at this point unbelievably well. But other than that, he struggles, and I think that should be a noted criticism, because it's so hard to criticize the guy at this point because he's great.
Right, going into Jeff Jarrett versus Shawn Michaels, it feels like, certainly based off this pay-per-view, that WWF did originally have plans for Jeff Jarrett, but I think the amount of go-away heat, or maybe the silence from the crowd, this almost feels immediately dashed. It does feel like, maybe not world title picture, but it certainly feels like they had something in line, but this completely dashed it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because again, I don't know if they've mixed the sound in a weird way, but I heard absolutely nothing. But I also saw nothing in the crowd as well. So as soon as I heard HBK's music hit, you saw the crowd come to life.
Mm-hmm. And again, this is Nashville, Tennessee. Like, this is a dead southern crowd. Like, they should be. You would imagine they'd be really, really vocal. Like, when we watched Bad Blood, Louisville, Kentucky. I mean, Bad Blood was an awful pay-per-view, cage match aside, but yet the crowd was very, very vocal.
Yeah.
He's not giving them anything to be mad about, though. Really,
Well, he's just giving them a free concert.
Yeah, not a great one, to be fair, but but again, not bad either. They were just indifferent, and that's the worst thing in wrestling, really. When, like, if they were booing, then fantastic, push them to the top, but he just wasn't. There was things he was doing that I really appreciated and thought, I like that, but he wasn't necessarily doing them convincingly. You know, he wasn't getting them over, and that's unfortunately the problem here. I think like there's shades of talent and to be there, but I don't know if it's a question of him being too green. Obviously, he wouldn't really amount to much unless he was doing the booking later on in his career. But you know, it's just the dead silence probably that's done it. He's given the Southern people a country concert. What have they got to be upset about? You know, it's not great booking.
Yeah, it feels like you're selling them short here, but at the same time, yeah, you've got a country and western guy doing a country and western concert, and they're not over.
It's really interesting. The whole point of that concert wasn't to get Jeff Jarrett over; it was to get the roadie over.
Yeah.
Because you remember how it turns out, yeah.
That's sort of blocked. I think towards the end, Roddy takes over, does he not?
Yeah, you basically find out that it wasn't Jeff Jarrett singing, it was a road dog of Roddy the entire time. And Jeff Jarrett would hold them down. And that's a really kind of long-term story point of it, because you're kind of watching this going, okay, where's this going? Then you find out Jeff Jarrett was cheating and lying. He wasn't a real singer. He's no talent. And it's just bury him.
But
and
who cares?
Just to get the roadie over, who then gets repackaged as like a Jeff Jarrett light, and yeah, Jeff Jarrett really pissed somebody off.
I don't feel like they're giving him a lot of chances. To be fair, I feel like if he was doing anything right, he was doing it in spite of what he was being given at this point.
He's got a lot of airtime, but not for the right reasons.
Yeah, that's what it feels like.
Yeah, these guys, their characters, Sean and Jeff, they actually feel like inverse versions of one another. They really complement one another well in this match. I was going to say, this is a masterclass in how to pace out a match, because there's a very slow, gradual beginning in that. But when they do finally, I mean, it's a great story they tell. And again, I was just going to say, because you know, Sean had main evented Mania earlier on in the year and he'd won the Rumble. Do you think putting him in the IC title kind of division does anything for him at this point, or is it just like marking time?
I think they're just holding him for a higher purpose, which I think is no bad shame. To be honest, I think the IC title it is the B title. It's no real rub to be the IC champion. Yeah, I don't think there's a problem with it.
I think that the IC title did hold a lot more kind of clout during this period as well. You've got Sean with the IC title and you've got Diesel with the world title. There's that kind of instant story kind of brewing there as well, the two friends having it. And I think there's a In Your House third on the line where the two of them actually fight for the world title, while Sean still has the IC title. So yeah, I kind of like the idea of him having it, but his best mate's got the belt he really wants. Has a kind of nice sweet inbuilt story to it.
I think Sean actually did a corkscrew in this match at one point. I was convinced like there's a bit where it looks like he's going to do a backflip and then he like twists in the air and then gets Jeff in a roll up. I'd never seen Sean do that before, but it was a nice little spot. Again, another thing is Earl Hebner kicks the roadie's hand when Jeff is going in for that. That's not the first time he'd massively aid Sean. So is it?
I'm interested. No, I did think the same thing. I felt some foreshadowing here. But
that's
if
some
you're
long-term
watching
storytelling there, isn't it? 2.5 years.
I don't know if I'm noticing this more, but it feels like every time we do something, everyone else copies us now. Because I saw Cultaholic did a piece on In Your House 1, Where Are They Now? And it's like, this can't be a coincidence.
Yeah, Brucey just did In Your House 1 as well, didn't he? So we're being plagiarised to death here. Not that we'll ever see any fiscal side of that, though. I feel like this era of HBK is the only era of HBK that can pull off the beard. Like, he's got that very, very nice sort of attitude gristle thing going on, whereas I think when he tried that in 2009, 2010, it looked like he'd just been served his divorce papers.
I think he tried it again in maybe 1997 when he took a little step away from the ring. I think it might have been he lost his smile.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
No.
Yeah. No. Sean gets the win. I mean, of course he was going to get the win. This match was actually stupendous. I thought it was two matches that, again, it was a match that brought out the best in one another. I'm going to go another 4.5 out of 5. Well, 4 out of 5, 4.5 out of 5. I would have put 5 out of 5, but they did that 2.5 kick out spot just a bit too much for my liking.
I'll get a 4. I thought it was a decent match. It's kind of those match when I was watching it. I was thinking to myself, if I was in the audience seeing this, I would have loved it. I'd have really loved it. I'd have felt like a real treat if I was there and seen that. Yeah, I'll give it a 4. I really liked it. I think Jeff Jarrett is really underrated as an actual worker. He's really fluid. He's got a dead safe style to him, and it just, I think he's got a solid wrestler.
I think he's a solid worker, but as we've said multiple times, he's just been done really dirty by the WWF. It's impossible to connect with him, to be honest. For me, I can't look at him and be like, that's a real good wrestler for me, because it's just, he's getting mugged off 24/7.
Yeah, I don't think you'll ever find another wrestling podcast in history that goes on about Jeff Jarrett as much as we do.
Jeff Jarrett could launch a podcast tomorrow and he still wouldn't talk about himself as much as we talk about him.
But I say if Jeff Jarrett launches a podcast tomorrow about Jeff Jarrett, I'm going to fucking scream.
Well, at least they've already got the intro song sorted. I mean, they could just do that fucking one that they did earlier on. There's my baby in that. Right, so we get Sean backstage. Yeah, Sean backstage after this, he gets greeted by Razor Ramon, Diesel, Rikishi, and Just Incredible. There's 3 other guys. Now, do you guys have any idea who those 3 other guys were? Because I was trying to point them out constantly, and I was like beady-eyed up at the television, saying I still had no fucking idea who they were.
I think Aldo Montoya was there.
I know, I was Just Incredible.
Sorry, aye.
There's like 3 other guys behind Just Incredible, and I was like, no, I had no idea.
I didn't even notice. I just remember thinking how Razor and Diesel and Sean looked to be really genuinely celebrating, whereas the others just seem to be like there to make up the numbers, because that's what it was. You've got 3 real life mates all happy and extras to make Sean look dead popular.
Yeah. But again, getting the guy who only had like 5 shoot friends in the company at the time and trying to get this army of people in there to be happy for him. Oh, that must have sucked to get that direction off Vince.
Yeah.
Go in there, happy for Sean.
Look like you're his friend. What does that mean? Just do it.
And I smiles. Yeah, so after this we get Owen and Yoko versus the Allied Powers. What do you guys make of the Allied Powers? I think it's sad to see Lex Luger here, knowing that 1994 he was co-main eventing Mania.
I remembered the Allied Powers being a lot better tag team than this match led me to believe. In terms of the match overall, I know as an idea I liked it. It's quite an easy nickname for them. Bulldog and Luger, 2 similar styles though to be put in a tag team. There's no contrast. I mean, you think of the British Bulldogs, the kind of tag team they were when Davey Boy and Owen would team up. Even Lex Luger and Sting as a tag team. Sting's always a big, muscly guy, but he was quite agile. But Luger and Bulldog, just too similar for me.
Bulldog makes Luger look agile though. That's the difference. Sorry, on agile, I meant like the ability difference kind of differentiates them for me personally. Yeah. I didn't feel any sympathy for seeing Luger here, because I'm thinking you're getting paid that money, given that push, and you've put how much work into this, other than maybe trying to get another inch on the bicep. Like, it's ridiculous kind of thing.
He looks so uninterested. He looks like he just couldn't be bothered.
It's frustrating, and it must have been even more frustrating for them. kind of thing. Like I find that, in fact, this match, you've got Owen and the British Bulldog creating all the movement because Yokozuna can't move, and Luger can't even move either. Like, if you are as stationary as that man over there, you need to have a hard look in the mirror, and not because that used to be your gimmick. You know what I mean? Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have been a lot happier with this match if it was just Bulldog versus Owen in a singles, because whenever they were in the ring, it was, in fact, Owen wrestled like 90% of this match.
Yeah.
And I get they can't have Yokozuna come in, but the whole point of a kind of match like this is you get we saw it Roma Vega and Razor Ramon. Just classic booking. They got the smaller heel getting beat up for the bigger most part. Then he tags in the big heel and he comes in. And they did this here, but it was with Owen and Yoko. So you're not going to get the same pop because
it was go away heat. Yeah. No, well, like, you were waiting for a Razor earlier, like, come on, please. And then this time when Yoko comes in or Luger comes in, you're like, no, go back. It doesn't work at all. Like, there was a moment where British Bulldog and Owen were in the ring, and it was just a clinic. It was only a moment, but it was insane. And then they go and tag them two in again. I just thought, like, you know, do they think that so long as they're standing on the apron, they're elevated?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't click for me, to be honest with you. It seems like a bit of a waste of time.
Yeah, Bulldog deserve better here. I quite like the Owen and Yoko tag team, bizarrely enough.
I think it was an incredibly underrated little mashup. I think maybe they stuck Owen because they knew he could carry the match, whereas Yoko could just stand there and look imposing. I think that was the whole reason that it was put together in the first place. Although I have to say, regarding the Ally Powers, I'm not sure that a British and American nationalist team would get that kind of positive reception today.
It would be a heel team.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Hopefully. Again, seeing Owen and the Bulldog lock up, it's always a bit of a mad visual, I think, because knowing that these guys were almost like they were either faces together or they were heels together. They were very rarely ever at the kind of the opposite side of the spectrum together. So yeah, seeing Owen and Bulldog lock up is always a bit. I mean, it's welcome, good wrestling, but yeah, a bit of a mad visual, all the same. Yoko gets the win. I'm going to give this 3 out of 5. It's a perfectly serviceable little thing.
Yeah, I'm about the same. I'm maybe 2.5 because I couldn't get into it. Like you, I said it's very stationary. I'm struggling to work out how there was actually a wrestling match where nobody moved. Yeah.
I'll get a 3.
Just, I mean, just to be Owen in this situation wherein you're a heart, and not only that, arguably in some corners you're considered the most talented one, depending, you know, and you get matched up with this guy. We think, right, we're stuck with Yokozuna. We gave him a big beefy contract. Don't know why. We're going to have to get someone paired with him that makes him look like he can move. And you're Owen in that situation. You know, it's painful. And for that reason only, I'm giving it a 3 out of 5 because my heart is bleeding for the guy. Basically, it just must have been like, you look at it and you can look back in reflection and go, oh yeah, that, you know, it's quite interesting having them two together. It must have been heartbreaking at some points. In reality, if you think about it, you know, I was watching, we've all seen Dark Side of the Ring, I guess, the last episode where it was based around Owen Hart, and my head immediately went to there and went, oh no, was the tag team title he was showing off to his child the one he got with Yokozuna? Like, you know, it's horrible, man.
I think as a sidebar to that, I completely agree with the sentiment that Owen Hart is the most talented Hart. And I don't know if that's... I look back on him because his career was cut short.
But then so was Brett's, if you think about it.
I mean, you know, Brett's on my Mount Rushmore, man. I gotta disagree.
I think, for me, Brett's better than Owen, but I think Owen's the more naturally gifted in terms of what he could do.
Owen's the better performer, Brett's the better wrestler.
Yeah, I think it's better.
That's a nice way of putting it. First thing, obviously moving on to the main event now, Diesel versus Sid. First thing I noticed about Sid's Lumberjacks, Triple H cameo, It's the most out of place thing looking in the world. You get all these guys who their heads are in the ring, so you just see the back of them. Triple H is like the lone one that's actually got his face to the camera. It's a bizarre little cameo. I mean, I know we kind of talk about like the movie matches and that nowadays. This is like one of those little Easter eggs in the Marvel films. It's like this guy's not important to now, but in 2 years from now.
Are we? I mean, was the Click running wild at this point? Basically, I get the impression from the booking that they were, or
I
they
have
must
to
have
believe
been.
so.
Yeah. So I mean, he could sit there and be quietly confident at this point, you know.
Seeing all the Lumberjacks, this just illustrates a part, and I know this has already been said, but oh boy, the roster in 1995 was just not up to much, was it?
Oh.
And this is really quite pithy.
I don't like Lumberjack matches, but yeah, seeing all these Lumberjacks, it was like, fucking hell. Like, was everyone else busy?
It's such a poor roster that it's actually hard to believe that when one of the competitors get thrown out the ring, that the rest of the boys can keep them down. It's that's how difficult it is. And I don't know about you guys, but for me, I didn't understand any of the booking of this match. They must have thought that the concept for it was so genius or exciting that they spent, for me, too much of the match trying to get it over. Loads of throwing folk out, blah, 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 throwing back in. But I'm pretty sure, and I don't know if there's the Coliseum home video promo before it where they mention, Sid's a scaredy cat, so he's not, we need a reason for all these guys to be round here kind of thing. And it kind of just ruins Sid's image to be like, oh, he's the one that runs away all the time against Big Bad Diesel. So, like, again, wasted potential for this potentially amazing feud. And the match itself, there was just too much time trying to get the concept over, wherein, I mean, I think the most explosive move we got in this was an elbow drop. We got two.
Well, I was going to say, to be fair, let's give Kevin Nash his credit. He did a springboard suicide dive at one point, and I actually yelped. I have to admit, I was like, whoa. I'd never seen
where that come from.
That was very, very cool.
Physically, it was striking and cool, but he just looked like he was having a crack. He had a big, massive cheeser on his face, like, I only get to do this once.
Geronimo.
Yeah, exactly. He literally thought there will never be this amount of bodies down there again to stop my quads from exploding. Yeah. So he just went for it. That was the bit that made me think the Click's on. He can do what he wants. He does not give He does not care.
The fact you've actually mentioned Kevin Nash's name more than once here, his quads are probably twitching as we speak. But I mean, go back to the first In Your House. Cammy, I don't know if you went and just ended up just watching it, but the main event with Sid and Diesel is really, really good. Their styles shouldn't work. They do. They powerbomb each other, which is insane. Kevin Nash's agility, he plays the kind of weak babyface role, kind of getting battered a bit really well, and it's a cracking match. None of that happens here.
No. Well, fair play then. That's clearly what I'm missing. But at the same time, you play to your lowest common denominator. I'm watching this thinking there's something missing. You guys must be watching this going, that was pointless, so why have they continued it? Why is this still going, kind of thing?
I think that is interesting for me is they've got the Lumberjacks there to stop Sid from running away. But in the previous match, I think it was Tatanka got a DQ for when he came in and attacked Diesel. So we want to keep Sid from running away, but we also want to stop Sid's pals from interfering. Steel cage match, anybody?
Yeah, that was what I was thinking. This should have been called In Your House Rage in the Cage or something like that. This should have been a cage match. This really could have gritted up the project at a time when the product really needed to be gritted up.
It's 1995.
A cage
There's
match.
There's not enough bodies in the house. They can't afford a cage. Well, come on now.
Yeah, a cage match really would have pushed this thing over the finish line.
Yeah, I mean,
it needed to be a cage match. That was actually my follow-up question was here was, what do you guys make of the Lumberjack match premise? Now, for me personally, this is actually subtitled on Wikipedia, In Your House, The Lumberjacks. For a show that's called In Your House, The Lumberjacks, you would imagine the Lumberjacks would actually be a bit higher quality. Like, I'm not asking for 1998, WCW era here. Like, it doesn't have to be the All Stars cast. It would have been nice just to have a few more stars out there around the ring.
I think calling back to the start of the podcast, this just reinforces the idea that Vince McMahon was in denial. Because he was just like, no, we got the best wrestlers in the world. When
Mountain Rock.
Look at them.
Yeah, but
looking at them, I was like, are these like jobbers they've pulled in? Have they gone to Home Depot and just picked up the tallest guys?
Send it to the local gym, yeah, man. Anybody want to earn 20 quid? Here's a gimmick. Who got a mullet? Excellent.
We'll give you $20 and then in your house t-shirt.
Pay them in boxes of
a
IcoPro.
son of a bitch.
Yeah, see if somebody's sitting there with that in your house t-shirt and they still have it. It must be worth more than that house to give away.
You know the question, like,
I'm making
machine, what would you do? I think I know what I'd do. I'd go back in time, steal one of the t-shirts, and then I could probably be in one of the Lumberjacks, because I would have just blended nothing cast so very, very well. Like 20 years from now, they're just going to be the CGI, my version of Head, looking around like amongst all the other guys.
I'd have shown up in like a pair of dungarees or something and just see what happened.
We could have gone as like Godwin number 3 and 4. We could have blended into the background very, very well.
A Godwin's
No one would have asked
faction.
anything.
Yeah, I mean, I made a note of the few of the Lumberjacks because I just couldn't believe it at first. You've got Duke the Dumpster Drossy. You've got Man Mountain Rock. You've got Sparky Plug, which is pre-Hardcore Holly, and you've got pre-DOA Harris Brothers. Although they're not called the Harris Brothers here, they're called the Blues. No, is it the Blues Brothers?
Oh God, surely not.
Something like that.
Is it the Bruise Brothers?
It could be. It's definitely
the Bruise
yeah.
Brothers.
I'd
Blues
rather
Brothers.
they just stole the Blues Brothers, to be honest with you, than make terrible puns.
I think the fact that IRS was a lumberjack as well brought back painful memories.
Yeah.
So again, we were talking about Diesel versus Sid. It should have been the highlight of SummerSlam 95. Surely they should have saw the Lumberjack match here and then put Diesel versus Sid SummerSlam 95 in a cage. Because SummerSlam 1994 was a cage with Bret and Owen. So
How many times can you have this match when the guy competing for the belt keeps losing?
Yeah, it feels like there's got to be a jumping off point where you're not going to win the belt this time, son.
well, here's the thing. I mean, Sid had already held the belt before in 1992. So what was the big? Why couldn't they put it on him in 95?
Did they?
Yeah, I think Between Hogan not tried.
No, they headlined WrestleMania 8, but Flair was a champion. He won it at Royal Rumble, 92, and he fought Macho Man.
Right.
That's even if you put it on Sid in your house 1 and just took it off him in your house 2.
Yeah.
Because even then you'd only have it for a couple of months, but it keeps it fresh.
So my understanding of the situation is that because Kevin Nash was so physically ginormous, they were struggling for people to go up against him convincingly, basically. And so, I mean, that in itself just shows how much of a missed opportunity it really is, because there's only one other guy, you know what I mean, that probably could have done it. Well, and also eventually they just found that Kevin didn't have, not excuse the pun, but legs, basically didn't have legs to carry the story forward, basically. I mean, I feel like you can see it here. Again, I am missing that first match and the knowledge and having watched it and stuff, but I'm struggling to see how he could have sort of carried the company when you're moving away from people like Brett and stuff like that. I mean, again, 2 elbow drops. Springboard, but 2 elbow drops.
The thing I find interesting with that, Cabby, can I echo your thoughts there a bit as well, is a lot is made of Diesel's title run here, and they talk about kind of like they gave him the belt, how did they get it off him? They talk about the Taker in '97. They say we gave this big guy the belt, now we have to try and figure out how to get it back off him. They only had it for a few months, and we'll know what happened after that. Diesel had this belt for a year. A full year.
Yeah.
Uninterrupted.
Yeah.
they've nobody. They can't blame anybody but themselves in that one in terms of stories and putting people up against them in that. A fucking year.
Yeah.
And I mean, my impression of him is that the least you could say is he wasn't as over as Sean.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so that's a hard one, especially with the competition coming up behind them, kind of thing. To have such a boring champion.
Well,
because I mean, if you look at all the in between matches, there must have been a couple. I don't know if there was any, but there must have been a couple where you just look at the two of them and go, right, well, we know who's going to win this, so I'm just going to watch something else.
I think the thing with Diesel, kind of said that he appealed a lot to kids and their mums.
I mean, he was literally in a Magic Mike film, so
yeah.
Yeah,
I liked him. I liked him during this time.
I do like Diesel. I think he gets shot on far too often. To me, if a guy has 3 legitimately great matches, then he's good. And I can think of like Survivor Series '95 with Brett was a legitimately great match. The Mania 11 match with Sean was a legitimately great match, and the match with Sean at In Your House, Good Friends, Better Enemies was a legitimately great match. So I do think Kevin has something. I think if he's working with a guy, again, it's the Triple H thing. If he's working with a guy who can bring you to the next levels, then you get a great Diesel match. Like we're not at like In Your House, Beware of Dog. There was the one where he did the match with Bulldog that apparently stunk up the place, which hopefully we'll get onto one day. But yeah, no, I think Diesel wins with a big boot here, which is a really confusing finish because that was never featured before this. But again, this still has that short and sweet quality to it that the In Your House one did, in my opinion. At least I know you maybe weren't as hot on it, Thomas. But yes, what did you guys make of it overall? If you were to rate it out of 5,
probably 2.5. To be honest, I wasn't that enamored by it.
Well, see, I just actually said 5 and not 10 there. I'm like, fucking him too.
Our rating system will just constantly change.
I'm sticking to out of 5. You guys can do whatever the fuck you like. You can give it 6.5 stars if you want. I'm staying to 5.
The match didn't take place in Japan.
It was just.
Was it Tokyo Dome?
It was stuff like the Jarrett Michaels match where he kept jumping out the ring for the count out, and the first time he did it and jumped back in, it was like, yeah, okay, cool, but then he just became like a fucking Family Guy bit where he just kept rolling out the ring. They did the count, he rolled back in. It's like, fuck, just fucking wrestle each other.
I kind of enjoyed it, to be fair, but whatever.
I enjoyed it at first. I always enjoy the cowardly heel actions, but when you keep doing it over and over again, it's like, fucking come on, man. Just looking at your watch, like we've got a whole fucking wrestling show to do.
I feel like there's a difference between Jeff Jarrett rolling at the ring and being a devilish heel, and then Sid getting thrown out of the ring and looking like a tit. Though.
Yeah.
I don't think this match done anything for anyone. Kevin looked unable. Sid looked like a numpty. And we've shown off our amazingly boring roster in a terrible gimmick. 2 thumbs down now that we're making up the ratings.
Roger.
Fuck me, it wasn't. Here's the thing. These are what should have been horrible. It should have stunk the place out. But I think given a perfectly serviceable match actually elevates it, given the size of these two guys. And given
serviceable is...
See, I didn't like this match. I didn't like the gimmick of it. I didn't like the Lumberjack element. But I'm also being very harsh on it because I'm judging it based on the previous match In Your House. Was excellent. And I went into this match really looking forward to it. So I'm like, oh, cool, they're in the main event. This has been a pretty poor pay-per-view, but they're going to really elevate this. Again, I've seen all these before. I had them in VHS years ago, but I haven't seen it in a long time. I was really looking forward to this main event, and I didn't like it. Oh. So I would agree with all. I'll get 2 out of 5 overall as a pay-per-view. Maybe 2.5.
Back in today, you've worked your backside off. Your Wayne's getting on at you because In Your House 2 is coming up, and that's what the Fed push out. Your hard-earned money goes, and then they just give you like this is the main event, mind. If it was somewhere else on the card, I would be thinking of it higher. But the fact that it's the main event and part of an overall program, well, near the end, is from my understanding, like that's, and there's nothing going on. There's just nothing. That, showing off the fact that it's a lumberjack match, and that's it.
When you really shouldn't have been showing off the fact it's a lumberjack match.
Exactly, yeah.
That's like you've all said and we've all referred to. If you want to keep him in the ring, just use a fucking cage in this instance. But
yeah, it's nothing like as good as In Your House 1, the Diesel Sid match, but I don't think it's necessarily two thumbs. It absolutely should not have been a lumberjack match. Yeah, I think we're all unanimously agreed with that. But I don't think it was necessarily 2 thumbs down.
Well, I don't think 1 out of 5 does it justice either. So.
You're a wide spectrum of opinions here, aren't we? My God. Talking no civil war. Yeah. Right, recapping the entirety, In Your House 2, the Lumberjacks as a whole, what would we rate it? What would we give it?
2.5 thumbs out of 6 stars. And don't ask me what that.
I'm giving the pay-per-view 2.5 stars out of 5. It didn't really do much for me overall. A couple of good matches, some good moments. I like the Jeff Jarrett singing part, and the fact that I keep coming back to that tells me what I need to know about the show.
I mean, in a way, a Jeff Jarrett themed pay-per-view was doomed from the start, wasn't it?
How dare you, for one.
Still the work to boxing match entirety premise as a pay-per-view. It doesn't work. It was never going to work.
Do you reckon we
should Wikipedia
rewriting history and have this pay-per-view renamed In Your House 2, the Lumberjacks?
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. I'm going to go to Wikipedia and edit it and see if anybody notices.
I was really entertained, and for the most part, but and I think it's a weird one because the last we reviewed DX In Your House, which had a steady pace of 0, and so there was no disappointment really. It just kind of trod along, but there were moments there was glimmering moments of fun in this that kind of showed me what it could have been, and it made those moments hurt. Those moments that didn't match up hurt just that little bit more. So I guess 2.5. No, I really want to give it a 3, but my logic brain is speaking and saying you need to give it a 2.5.
Well, I mean, in all the In Your Houses that we've reviewed, I don't know if we'll necessarily touch Canadian Stampede levels of goodness. That feels like a real high point for us personally, and Bad Blood feels like a real low point for us personally. But this, I would put this in the lower half.
Yeah.
With Canadian Stampede being a 10 and Bad Blood being a 1, this feels like a 4, if that makes sense.
We need to find the system and stick to it. I'm sorry.
2.5 Stampedes out of 10.
Yeah, there we go.
But isn't that good? Because it's like more than one Stampede.
Sorry, 2.5 Stampedes.
Okay, minus 4 Stampedes.
Ah, there we go, yeah.
Minus 4 stars.
I'll give it a 93 Yokozuna out of 89 Yokozunas.
67%.
Ah, there we go.
Well, it's good to know where we all stand on In Your House 2, the Lumberjacks.
I think
right.
It's I can't rate them high, but I can't rate them like 1 out of 10 because it's a house show you pay for, and it's just like, well, I wasn't blown away by it, but it wasn't like Bad Blood where I was just like, I want to die. I don't want to be alive anymore.
I'm tempted to give it an extra half star just for the fact that the DOA aren't fighting Los Pericos on it. In fact, the Savio Vega and the Bruise Brothers have a box of Lumberjacks. Please tell me they don't. Oh, Christ.
Oh. But you did have a Godwin appearance,
yeah,
so it's kind of on par.
Yeah.
So.
So at least we're all unanimous in where we stand on it.
Fun.
Yeah, right. Getting into our kind of an ending thing here. UFC star Colby Covington vows to hunt down champion Drew McIntyre and take his soul by Talksport.com. Wow, they really are reaching with the whole MMA boxing in the product nowadays. This feels like a response to the ratings being that bad. What do you guys make of this?
Some background to this. The TNA had a storyline wherein Bobby Lashley has an MMA record. It's very important to look up that record because you realise he fought a lot of people who probably shouldn't have been in a cage, like 20 losses to one victory type stuff. But as a gimmick, he has a legitimate MMA record, and he trains with the American Top Team gym, who Colby Covington is a member of. And so they had a segment where the American Top Team came out, including Colby Covington, and they cut promos and blah, blah, blah. That was a big turning point for Covington because he actually had a character after this. Now, that might not seem important for MMA, but for selling yourself on a global scale, it actually is. And so he has literally been the professional wrestling guy, basically, for the longest time. And by that, I mean corny to all hell, wears a MAGA hat, and just does it to be a general heel.
Oh!
But it works, though. It works
great.
for him. It works. It really works for him.
You could write down everything I know about Colby Covington on the back of a Tic Tac box, but the one thing I do know about him is that his Twitter profile pic was him wearing the MAGA hat next to the Donald. That was like the one thing I knew about him.
It's you know, and apparently behind closed doors, he's a nice guy and it is a character and blah blah blah. He does it really really well, and he calls out someone every 5 seconds. I'm sure maybe one of us has been called out at some point. It happens so frequently, so I wouldn't take any gravity to it, other than the fact that generally Colby Covington is quite entertaining.
My problem with a MAGA guy gimmick is that he'll either be pushed to the moon by Vince as a face, or he'll be written in as a proper like heel, like proper like hellfire heel.
Yeah.
Then you'll just get crowds just going fucking wild for him.
Proper JBL thing. Right, so hold on. Cammy, you said he was a nice guy behind closed doors, so is he a worked conservative or a shoot conservative?
Now, where he falls on the spectrum politically, can't say. But the cartoonish aspects of him, you know, he's walking around with beach babes who are... It's really funny, because apparently he's quite a dweeb, but he's walking around with the beach babes and the MAGA hat and and he was walking around so good, man. He won an interim belt, which got stripped off him for not fighting, and he kept carrying it anyway, spouting the fact that he was the real champ. It's the best storyline that the WWE's done in years, and he had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, that's the thing with the UFC. It's like your guys like your Chael Sonnen, your Conor McGregors, your Tito Ortiz, your Kobe's. They're the guys that get eyeballs on it. You're going to get your hardcore MMA fans that are more interested in. I can't think of it off the top of my head now, but guys that nobody else will have heard of. But these are the guys that bring attention to your product. And the thing about MMA versus or UFC in particular versus WWE, in WWE you get worked matches, but the feuds are usually shoots. In MMA, the fights are real, but the feuds are usually works.
Yeah.
Ollie, I've just noticed that we were talking about the MAGA hats, and I see you've decided to grab your pussy.
Yes.
Very good. There we go.
It was very on purpose.
Swing and a miss.
The only thing that can make Kobe made a heel at this point, if he listened to his podcast and we check his Twitter account, he's got his MAGA hat on and an In Your House 2 t-shirt.
Right, sure. Rounding up our final little thing here, WWE superstar reportedly says dangerous Nia Jax needs to be fired following a second accident of Talksport.com. Now, I know I don't follow today's product maybe as religiously as I should do, but I do know one thing, and that apparently Nia Jax is just botch-tastic in every regard. Do you guys get to shed some light on this?
I'm in the same camp as you. I don't know, follow, or care for the modern product, but yeah, I know she's absolute fucking carnage on legs. Like, the only times I have heard of Nia Jax is because she's absolutely fucked something up and like broke someone's spine in half. And she was only trying to harm her.
She was pushed. She was. There was a moment in time in which she was pushed so hard. It's again that physical thing. She's so big that she can't. She done the China thing. She couldn't believably be in a women's match, so she was in the men's Royal Rumble. And the reason, and upon reflection now, she was probably, fucked out of that so quickly because they themselves were worried about getting hurt. She was pushed. It's like the female version of what Vince likes. She's big, and that's where her qualities kind of stop, sort of thing.
Just imagine Vince, but you're a big sweaty guy, Nia.
Well,
I like it.
I like it.
She's a member of the Anoa'i family, which is the most prestigious family in the history of wrestling. Like, these guys have been trained to the moon. Like, I struggle to think of safer workers than the Anoa'i family, like Rikishi, Rock, the Usos, Haku. Like, Polynesians have a reputation for being the safest people you can work with. I just think it's funny that it's a Polynesian that's currently the most dangerous person working today in the company.
And that reputation is probably the problem, to be honest with you, because people are like, why don't they pull a Big Show and just stick her, somewhere to work for a while and then bring her back and be hot, and as in a wrestling term, physically, blah blah blah. Yeah, sorry, I made that weird. Have a hot,
I got it.
have a hot run and blah blah blah. But it's probably that reputation that's stopping her. I doubt they're not shelving her because of her family or anything like that. I don't believe that nepotism exists outside the McMahon family. But it's probably one of the reasons as to why she's not been taken aside yet. Benefit of the doubt.
Have they still got OVW? No,
I think
into NXT.
They have, don't they just use people like Evolve and stuff now? They just stick them down at the indies and pretend they don't have a contract except they do, sort of thing. Almost kind of NXT UK style. They are signed but they aren't, kind of thing.
Yeah, because it might serve justice to put her somewhere like there and just have her wrestle dark until she gets her mojo back.
But then there's no such thing as dark in the indies anymore, especially if you're talking about Evolve. But then I'm struggling, comes to mind. Well, I mean, outside of being fired, like Drew McIntyre working the indies, getting a heck of a lot of reputation and coming back, I'm sure there's been a few examples where people have went to the indies, have became unsung heroes, and then they're all the hotter for it when they come back, kind of thing. You could kind of do a questionable shoot work thing where you send her to Evolve and pretend that you fired her or something, which kind of brings up other things that has happened recently.
I think WWE has to be the only company where, okay, we're going to send you to a gym in Florida for 6 months as a punishment. I can't think of another company where it's like, okay, we're going to stick you in the performance center and we're going to stick you with people and you learn how to not hurt people. Why haven't they done this before? Why have they allowed? How many people is she conceivably going to have to go through before they pull her aside?
With the current state of WWE, going to Florida and NXT is an award right now. I want to point that out. There are people who have chosen the C show over the A or B.
Well, that's what I've been meaning to ask. Is it the performance center that they're using for the Raw and SmackDown tapings, or is it? So thank God they're not right. So they're not on the road. They're in a fixed locale, right? So okay, then that's good. Thank God. Yeah, I think we've rounded just about everything out about Nia Jax now. Right, cool.
I think so. Yeah, there's not much to say.
Right, guys. In your house, no way out of Texas next week.
Yeah,
absolutely. Right, guys. Just gonna sign off now.
Thank you for tuning in, everybody.
Thank you.
You guys
Take
take
care,
care.
lads. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.